everyone. It's 8 o'clock. We'll get started and people can join in. Request to the pod team, just mute the incoming notification sounds. It's giving a ding every time someone is joining. So please mute that. All right. So from the participants, I hope you are able to hear me clearly and you're able to see my video as well. Can someone from the audience please confirm?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right, fantastic. Okay, so to introduce myself, most of you will be meeting me for the first time. So my name is Dr. Malolan, and I am one of the course instructors for this course. Okay, so we are going to do a session on the contents from week 1 and week 2. So we'll primarily be focusing on those two. We'll not get into week 3 discussions as of yet, because a few people, we also have a session for that in the weekend, and a few people would have not yet seen the contents. So I would prefer to keep your week 3 questions for the next session. So we'll do only week 1 and week 2. And this is the second round of the course. So most of the queries that you had would have already been answered in the discourse. So I would encourage you to go look at that. So that is something that is we are trying out as a knowledge base. So if you go to a BDM, a Business Data Management Discourse Forum, you should be able to get a lot of content for which we have answered, and that's going to act as a knowledge hub, like I said. So please do visit that. But what I want to do in this session is focus on some topics from week 1 and week 2, which during the previous batch they found a bit confusing when solving question papers, right? So I will not be doing any computations on screen, but I just want to talk to you about the thought process behind what has been handled. And this will be more of a discussion like the course. I'll be asking you questions and I would like you to answer so that it's not monotonous, and that is the purpose of a live session. All right. So with that, let's get started. So let's address first the concept of elasticity. All right, because this is where a lot of confusion seems to have happened. Okay, so what is elasticity? Can someone tell me?
Measure of responsiveness of quantity demanded or quantity supplied.
Okay. Dispersion against what?
Against the change in one of the factor which affects demand or supply.
And what are those factors?
For example, price, income,
okay,
quantity.
Price.
Okay, so you're absolutely right. So it's going to measure how some item is acting for, how the quantity of some item is acting against the change in some other parameter. So how the quantity for an item is changing with respect to price, that will give you price elasticity. With respect to income, that will give you income elasticity. And with respect to another product's price, that will give you cross price elasticity. So based on that, you have three types of elasticity that are coming into picture. Fantastic. So measuring this, what you will primarily get? You will get a number. And how do you interpret that number? What does that tell you?
It tells about the demand or supply, that how much it shifted from its original position.
Okay, using that information, what can you tell? So ultimately, what is the conclusion will arrive at?
You can say if the good is a necessity or a luxury.
Okay, all of that is fine, but before that, you have to determine something, no?
So if it is between 0 and 1, it says whether that particular quantity is elastic or not.
Okay, so it is going to tell you whether it is elastic or non-elastic. The first thing from any of these elasticity measures that you will get is whether it is elastic or non-elastic. All right, let's fix that in our heads. Now let's come to the definition. When something is elastic in nature, what does it convey to you? What is the physical interpretation of that? When you say this item is elastic in nature, what is the physical interpretation of that?
And that the quantity.
So whether the item is generating or luxurious.
Whether the let's do one thing, since a lot of people are answering. Maybe you can raise your hand, and whoever name is coming on top first, I will call out that person. And okay, so we have raised hand. Does it come on top? 1 second. It's coming here. Okay, Steve Richards.
Sir, elasticity says about whether a product is necessity or luxurious.
That is okay. That is the next level. Before that, what does it say? When you have an elastic something, what is its interference? Okay, Rakesh.
So change in demand.
Okay, 1 second. Let's go to Rakesh. Thank you, Steve.
If the price increasing, still the customer want to buy that product. That means the product has good utility and the customer has necessity of that product.
Okay, that is good. Utility, fine. Necessity is fine. But what is the interpretation again? Next, Madurai. Madhuri. Yeah?
Yes, sir, it is Madhuri.
Madhuri. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, Madhuri Agarwal. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So it measures the responsiveness, that how how elastic that the quantity and I'm sorry.
Okay, it measures responsiveness, right? But to put it in more, let's say, concise terms, the next person, Mayur. Am I right?
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Mayur.
It tells us how the quantity is sensitive to that particular parameter, like income or price.
Exactly. So responsiveness is basically going to measure if how much prone is the fluctuation to the change in something else, right? So that is the responsiveness that you're measuring. So when you have something that is extremely elastic in nature, what is it telling you? It is telling you that you are going, even if you change slightly some the input parameter, whether it's price or income or let's say the price of some other product, it is going to affect your quantity very drastically. So that is the first observation that you should have. And I'll come to this why it is important when we talk about, we'll try to draw parallels of these concepts, how you can use in your Capstone project, because that session is already over. At that time, I will try to draw a parallel. All right. So that is the first thing that you should remember. Now let's come to the next concept of very specifically in price elasticity. When you have a number, you can, now that number is going to tell you whether it is elastic or inelastic. And in price elasticity, you have this very special two terms, which I have already said. One is necessity. What is the other one? Steve, Mayur, and Abhineet, please lower your hands. Only after I ask a question, raise your hands. Okay. Anyhow, Abhineet, maybe you can go ahead since I didn't give you a chance last time. Go ahead. What are the two concepts from the number that you can observe when you look at price elasticity? Anyone? Abhineet, since you have raised your hand.
Concept we can get about the elasticity is that quantity supplied and price.
Okay. No, that is not my question. Based on the price elasticity, the number, you can classify items as two categories. What are those two?
Elastic and inelastic.
Wait, I'll
Elastic
call
and
out.
elastic.
Yeah. So elastic or elastic, you can lower your hands again. So in online mode, this is your exercise, raising and lowering your hands with the click of a button. So anyhow, so you will get it as not elastic and non-elastic. You can get it as luxuries and necessities. Okay. So luxuries and necessities. What are their physical interpretations? Now tell me in layman's term. If I tell you an item, if you can tell me what is necessity, but a luxury, what does it signify? Yeah, Tanuja.
Yeah, so a luxury is an item that is not considered to be something that someone can live without. You know, a necessity is something like, say, for example, rice. You need rice, or you need some basic food, like beans or some vegetable. But a luxury could be like something you would get at a five-star restaurant, that kind of food, or it could be like a car. It could be um, like
No, got
a
it.
bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
So something that you okay. Very good. You have conveyed the meaning. There is a specific word which the professor used during the lecture. Can you tell it to me for this particular reasoning? He used a beautiful word for it.
No, I'm sorry, I don't remember.
No problem, no issues. Yeah. Vivek, maybe you can go next. Vivek Bajaj, right? Vivek Bajaj, am I pronouncing your name right? Vivek? No answer. All right. Then Yogendra?
Sir, luxury goods are elastic in nature.
Exactly.
Means with the variation in the prices, so their demand varies. And
exactly. So what does that convey?
Consumer can postpone the.
Exactly. That is the word I'm looking for. Postponement. So whenever you compute elasticity from price, this is what Sir said, right? Postponement. And this is what the other person was also telling. So I am okay for my necessities. I will have to consume it irrespective of the price. Whereas my luxuries, I can say I will consume it later. So I can postpone my purchase. So that is a very important attribute which you can use to determine what type of product a particular item is falling into. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So that is one. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. My mic was not working. So
no issues. No problem. It happens. No problem. Yeah. Okay. So the next one, that is with respect to price. Now let's look at income. All right. So when you use income in your denominator, change in quantity, percentage change in quantity, by percentage change in income, what are the two ways that you can classify your items? Yogendra, you can lower your hand. Anyone else? Okay, Madhuri, let's wait. Madhuri, do not answer. Wait. Anyone else? We'll give someone else a chance if they.
Can you repeat the question?
How do you classify your items when the denominator is income, percentage change in income instead of percentage change in price? Okay, Vivek, maybe you will go this time. Yeah.
so we can maybe like normal goods and inferior goods.
Exactly. So normal goods and inferior goods. So what is a normal good? What is its physical interpretation? I know that you can tell me the numerical interpretation, but what is the physical interpretation of a normal good?
So something which has which can be a necessity or a luxury item, or which can have positive.
Which has positive. Wonderful. Now positive. Now here comes my next question. But you have actually told me this. A positive thing can be either elastic or inelastic. Correct?
Yes.
All right. Yes. So it can either be a luxury or a necessity, right. And it can be a normal good.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Got it?
Right.
So that is very beautiful. Now tell me, someone else, Vivek, thank you. Now tell me, now look at the interpretation from the point of an inferior good. What is an inferior good? Physical interpretation again. Okay, they are raised your hands. Yeah, Tarang, go ahead.
Sir, some low quality stuff that we are consuming because of our income, because of strained in our income, so we are consuming a low quality product and we can't afford a high quality product, but as our income increases we tend to shift from low quality product to high quality product.
Okay, fair enough. But what is the physical interpretation of that negative number? You're doing what? Continue, Tarang. You're doing what?
So we are adjusting, like we are compromising because of our income to a low quality stuff.
Exactly. So you are reducing it, right? The quantity is getting reduced. That is what I want to know. A positive, positive income elasticity means it's a normal good, which means you are increasing your consumption. Whether it's a drastic increase or a normal proportionate increase will be determined by elasticity, the numeric number, whether it is elastic or inelastic, but the quantity is going to increase proportionately or disproportionately. Whereas if it's an inferior good, the quantity is going to decrease either proportionately or disproportionately. So in both normal goods and inferior goods, you will have elastic and inelastic items. Okay, that is a very important thing that you should remember. In price elasticities, luxuries and necessities, that is all, no sign. for us because it's an absolute number. Whereas in income elasticity, we have a sign and we have an elasticity. Okay, everyone clear on this? This is a very important understanding. That is the difference between price and income. Any questions?
So does that mean that like the price elasticity varies from 0 to 1 and greater than 1, but here it is negative and positive? Is that the inference that we get from this?
Yeah, it is.
And
Price
that could be any
elasticity.
value.
In fact,
That could-
price, if you look at the lectures very closely, you will notice that we take the absolute value for price elasticity because in real life scenarios, as price changes, quantity will always drop. So your numerator will always be a negative value and your denominator will always be a positive value. So the entire ratio will always be negative. So we are not worried about the sign. It will always be an absolute value.
Yeah.
Whereas in the case of income elasticity, it can go either way. So our sign is very important to us. So that is why we classify it as normal and inferior. And then we look at the numeric, just the numeric part, whether it's between 0 to 1 or greater than 1 to define it as elastic or inelastic.
Okay.
The sign tells you the type of good, the number tells you the type of elasticity.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Raised hands, questions, Tarang? Madhuri and Abhishek.
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Madhuri.
I am confused with this negative and positive elasticity because sir told us in lectures that we take absolute value because elasticity because we want the absolute value. We take the absolute value because we want that quantity to be positive. But then comes negative elasticity in the picture. I am confused with this.
Sir said we take the absolute value for price elasticity, right? Now we are talking about income elasticity, where we have items of normal goods and inferior goods. How do you say a good is normal? You tell a good is normal if it has positive elasticity, income elasticity. Let me put it like that, positive income elasticity. You call a good which has inferior when it has negative income elasticity. So the sign is important. After that, to tell whether it is elastic or not, you don't need the sign. You just need the magnitude. Making sense?
So what I understand now is in case of price elasticity, we need to consider absolute values in change, but in case of income elasticity, we don't consider the absolute values.
We consider the value. Don't say we don't consider the absolute value. We consider the value, right?
The value, not the absolute one. We consider
Correct.
the change as it is in case of income elasticity.
Correct. And I also told you why we do it for price elasticity. Because in price elasticity, always is the case. You have the case is always that as price increases, quantity will decrease. So the number in majority of the scenarios will always be negative. So we are not worried about the sign. So that is the reason why theory says take the absolute.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so that is the justification for it. All right. Any other questions? Good. So no more raised hands. So we'll move to the next one, which is called cross price elasticity, all right, of demand. Since we are talking about demand, we'll talk about demand. So how is this calculated? What is its significance? What is the importance of cross price elasticity? Yeah, go ahead. Abhineet, right?
Yeah, basically importance of cross price elasticity is that we can compare the pricing of the two goods, and according to our income and relatively utility, we can select the products.
So so the thing is, price elasticity and income elasticity were focused on one good, whereas cross price elasticity is now comparing two goods. Wonderful. Now when you compare two goods, what can you identify? What are the two things that you will get? Similar to normal goods, inferior goods, luxuries and necessities, cross price elasticity will tell you what?
Substitutes and complements.
Yeah. But wait for the raise of hands.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
No issues, no problem. Who answered?
I'm not able to find that raising hand, so I just.
No issues, no problem. What's your name so that I can?
Priscilla.
Okay, Priscilla, right. So Priscilla, now tell me, what is a substitute?
I remember the example which professor taught, like a Coke and a Pepsi. When the price of one commodity goes up, the consumer wants to buy the other one. So the price of that becomes lower. In reality, it would have had a less demand, but still, because the good of the first price rose up, it picks up market. So
exactly. So that's a substitute. Wonderful. What is a complement? Thank you. We'll have someone else answer. What is a complement? Let me just choose. Since I've given Yogendra Tanuja a chance, let's go with Sijal. Sijal Anand.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So
What is a
complements,
complement? Yeah.
A and B are complements if with increase and decrease in the price of one affects the demand for other as well. For example,
can you repeat once more? I didn't grasp that.
If price of A decreases or increases, the demand for B will also be affected. For
How?
example,
In what direction? In what direction? Let's say price of A is going down, then demand for B will.
So demand for B will also increase as it's a complement.
No. So if
price of
A
A
goes
going
down, if it
demand
goes down, demand for B will.
A and B both will increase.
Fantastic. That is what I want. Okay. Super. So that is a complement. So that is the distinction. All right. A substitute talks about replacement. So item A will be replaced by item B. Whereas complements talks about both the products. So as if item A is going up, item B is also going up. So that is a complement. Okay. And I would encourage you to look at the ratio and see why this is happening. You will get to know because it's Q2 minus Q1 by Q1 by P2 minus P1 by P1. So you will get to understand this, but that is the importance. Now, apart from the example that Sir said, I would like to give two examples for these two. Let's take substitutes and let's take complements. Substitute, this is one very beautiful example that I found when I was a student. What usually happens is in the shelves of any supermarkets, whenever milk bikis is not there, the normal milk bikis biscuit is not there, you'll find Parle G's selling a lot. Okay? And when Parle G is not there, milk bikis will sell a lot. So that is kind of both complement each other. Now both substitute each other because both are of the same taste. If you want. The second thing, complements, if you go very closely and notice, you will see that Marigold biscuits, right? Marigold biscuits and tea and coffee consumptions are complement to each other. So the more tea someone sells, the more Marigold biscuits that will be sold. More coffee that is sold, more Marigold biscuits that will be sold. These two are had together in most cases. So Marigold and tea coffee consumptions might be a good example for complements. Okay. Any questions so far?
Sir, regarding this compliment, just maybe I am wrong in understanding, I don't know. The sir explained in the video, the petrol prices goes up, the demand for automobile comes down, and he said that for compliment. So in this case, the price is going up, the demand, the thing comes down. Like now you said coffee and Mari biscuit both going up.
No, I'm telling if the sales of coffee goes up, then the quantity of Marigold also will go up. I'm comparing demand and demand. I'm not talking about price itself.
Okay. All right, demand. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Repeat the last part.
Which last
Hello,
part?
sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can you ask everybody to mute themselves if they are not speaking?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's actually some background noise is coming.
Okay, cool. Yeah, good. This thing observation. Yeah, we can mute Sabit. You're speaking to me right now, right?
No, sir, I was Abhishek.
Okay, Abhishek. Okay, Sabit, please mute yourself then. Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. Okay, right. Any other questions? We have Abhinit. You have raised your hand. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. No. Yeah, fine. Okay. Wonderful. So this covers the theory part. Now let's look at it. How you will use this this, let's say in your Capstone project, you do something. Okay. Let me ask you a question. How does elasticity affect your forecast? If you find something that is very elastic in nature, how will it affect your forecast? Please raise your hand, then answer. And how to raise your hand? You can go to reactions, and there will be raise hand option in that. Okay, yeah, Yogendra, go ahead.
Sir, can you please repeat the question? I'm sorry.
All right, Yogendra, then wait. The question is, how will elasticity affect forecast? There's a term called forecasting. I hope everyone is familiar with it. What is meant by forecasting? It is predicting the future. So when you are going to forecast, let's say, demand for some item, how will the elasticity of that item affect your forecast? That is the question. Okay, so with that, let's go to Yogendra. Yeah, Yogendra, go ahead.
So if the good is very elastic in nature, then it will be difficult to forecast.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. What I lose for this question, I'll ask all of you to answer, whoever has raised your hand, because I want to understand what your thought process is. Okay, so once you have answered, just lower it so the next person can be given a chance. Okay, Abhineet, go ahead. Yeah.
As elasticity increases, forecast chances are decreases, and in same case as income elasticity increases.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, thank you, Abhineet. Vivek, if you have the same answer as someone else, you can say this is also my opinion, and then we can move fast to the next person. Yeah, Vivek.
Yeah. So in forecasting, and a very high elasticity will actually affect your forecast in a way that your profitability will be affected. So you will have to be very careful in planning the cost aspect, because high elastic, if you have a high elastic good, then any change in the market scenario, anything is going to adversely affect your balance, your bottom line.
All right, fine. Yeah, got it. Okay, Tanuja.
Mine was similar to Vivek's. So basically, if a good is more elastic, there are a lot of different factors that can affect its quantity demanded in a positive or negative way. It can go either way. So forecasting whether the demand is going to increase or decrease will be quite difficult because of many factors affecting. Whereas in goods that have inelastic demand, inelastic goods, they will be relatively easy to forecast, as they do not have many factors that cause a change in its demand.
All right, fair enough. Okay, Rakesh.
I want to raise a scenario that if a good is very elastic, but still if due to innovation some new product comes in the market which serves the same purpose, but the price is low, then the previous product sale will be decreased.
All right, fair enough. I'll come to that in a minute. Next question will be on that. So, but fair enough, I get your point. Okay. Next, Madhuri. Thank you, Rakesh. Yeah, Madhuri.
My point is same as Tanuja. That there are many factors that contribute if a product is elastic, so it will be very difficult to forecast. We can forecast, but it will not be very accurate. If the product is inelastic, then forecasting will be easier and it will be more accurate. That's it.
Fair enough. Yeah, thank you, Madhuri. Yeah, Yogendra, I believe you have already answered. Is it?
Just I wanted to add one point. If means the price is very elastic in nature, then in the price and the quantity curve, the area will be revenue. So your revenue will be very flexible, means elastic in nature.
Okay, price is not elastic in nature. It is the demand that is elastic in nature. So, but I understand your point. Your revenue area will be very fluctuating.
Yes, sir.
Fair enough. Got it. Okay. So, Vishwajit.
Yeah. So, if you have a highly elastic good, there is a higher chance of so you can change the price, you can decrease the price and expect the demand to rise and thereby sell more product and get a higher profit out of it. So that could
wonderful.
That could be a recommendation.
Wonderful. This I just wanted to talk to you about. So when we are looking at price elasticity, we are only looking at luxuries and necessities. We are avoiding the sign. So this inference will not be possible, right? I will look at the others after I answer this question because it's very relevant to answer it right now. When I talk about elasticity alone, since we are looking at the magnitude, we are not worried about the direction, right? So when you say that in most cases it will be that the quantity will decrease, that is no the same. But there could be instances where the quantity increases for some reason that we do not know about. If that is the case, and if you say I'm going to lower my price, your quantity can further go down, right? So that could be a situation. So never justify your thing saying that if I lower the price for my quantity can go up. That need not be the case at all. Okay, all you can say is if you lower the price, your quantity will change drastically. You do not know the direction. Okay.
So wasn't there argument for taking the absolute value that the elasticity is always negative?
That is what I'm trying to reinforce again.
Division is always negative.
That is what I'm trying to reinforce again. In 99% of the real life scenarios, that will be the case. There will always be that one exception. And it will be our guess, our thing that we might fall in that one exception. So we should be very careful. Right? The general theory is
all right. So you're saying that we shouldn't go by the model when you're making a real life
exactly. So at that time, you should be very careful and understand the good. Got it?
Okay.
Good one. Yeah, but thank you for raising that. It was an amp point for me to point it out again. Good one. Yeah. Harshita, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead, Harshita. Again, the question: how does elasticity affect forecasting?
Sir, actually, I want to add on this that if there is in the market there is something like there is news or that like in India there is like a saying that electric vehicles are coming in from like in next century. So according to that scenario, we can just think about like the price of the cars and electric vehicles could have been rise in the next century. So we can predict that from the news only.
Okay,
so I'm just saying that like the car prices are not very elastic in nature. That's how can we are predicting it from the news.
Okay, and wonderful. So your data point is a news. Let's talk about this. This is very interesting. Since we are in the subject of BDM, it will be very interesting. When we are talking about data, there are two types. One is the numerical data, and the other is subjective qualitative data that we are getting it, right? So when we are talking about this news, let me take your example itself. You are telling that electric vehicles are going to be for the next century, are going to be the vehicles of the future, if I can use that word. Then what are you trying to say? You are trying to tell that they are going to flood the market. So when they are flooding the market, do you think the price of the vehicle will go down or the price of the vehicle will go up?
So eventually it will go up for like...
It will go up.
Like for, I mean to say like for some time it will go up, but after that competition will occur in the market. To beat that competition, every company should have to decrease the price. I think so. Like
the competition is already there. Fantastic. This is the concept that will come to you about how price affect. In fact, it would have come to you in week number.
There are so many companies already to beat the competition. Like
exactly. So whenever a competition comes into picture, the price will start dropping because each other will try to capture the market. So what will happen? The price will come down, the quantities go up.
Yes, so the market leader have to decrease the price to beat.
Exactly. So that is what is going to happen. So based on that news, so the subject, so the ultimate goal is the price will not increase initially. Initially, the price when you are having a niche project will be high, but it will slowly start to come down. So over the next century, when you say it's going to be the vehicle of the future, it has to be for the mass. So the price will drop drastically. You can take this for any example. You can take cars, how genuine cars, normal conventional cars, how they have come over the time. You can take this for cell phones that has happened recently.
Yes,
you can take this for laptops.
Yes, sir. It was like a booming.
So that is always the case. As competition comes into picture, the price will go down.
The price drops.
You will have affordability coming into picture. So, but the most important thing in your entire statement is the type of data. So you can have numerical data for predictions, or you could have subjective data for interpretations and then prediction. So
But so
subjective
like
data,
you said, the mobile phone example, but like in the starting scenario, when there was in Indian economy, when there are like so many people who can't afford mobile phones, and at that time the mobile phone prices are quite higher for so many peoples, but right now it has become like kind of affordable for everyone.
Correct.
So like it have something relation with Indian economy too, like maybe there are salary increases that people can afford that, and the mobile phone prices also comes down to that level that people can afford that.
A lot of factors play a picture. You cannot justify that this is the only reason, but there could be several reasons. I agree to that. But my point is only this: the data that you are pointing towards is a subjective data which you will have to infer, then make a prediction. Whereas numerical data will directly give you a prediction. Based on the number you can predict, but of course there will be an inference, but there will be more quantitative in nature, is what I'm trying to say. So the entire idea of this entire BDM course is to drive that. So as and when you go more further, you will actually your first assignment would be that, right? So you will be looking at the company's let's say balance sheets and trying to answer some questions, which is actual data that you have, numerical data that you will be using. But let's not get into that. But that is an important aspect of the course that is also going to be focused. Okay.
Sir, just one question.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I might like to come in order because there are people who have raised their hands. So please raise your hand and just wait. I'll just come to you. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Ananya, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So, sir, you were just talking about two types of data, right? And Harshita suggested a example. She quoted that. Now I will go back to my basics. I have been reading all this stuff for 5 years. Like I've been a commerce student. So my basics state a very basic example of coffee and tea. You talk about forecasting, right? There was one side that was just quoted. There was one aspect to it that was quoted of elasticity. That competition affects elasticity. There is another very important aspect that we missed, and it also affects forecasting. So, the other aspect is consumer behavior or consumer preferences. So, if I, as a consumer, prefer coffee, if there are 100 consumers who prefer coffee over tea, and there are 50 consumers who prefer tea, so the price of coffee will be more as compared to tea, or something like that. You get the basic idea, right?
Very
So,
true. Very true.
consumer behavior, again, this is a subjective data example, like it differs person to person what they prefer, but this also affects forecasting that according to consumer preferences, the demand keeps decreasing or increasing, which leads to a rise or drop in price, thus affecting forecasting at some levels.
Very true. Yes, it does. I do agree. I'm not getting very deeply into the concept of forecasting because once you go into forecasting, you'll have to look at what parameters affect and so on and so forth. That is not my intention. My intention is just to say that this concept can be used if you have a data tomorrow. If you have a very elastic kind of a parameter, then you should look at things like more predictors into the model. I'm going to answer that question towards the end once I finish with everyone. So I'll come to that point in a minute.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. I have one question related to this.
Eventually it will go up for
Harshita, yeah, just wait on. There are people waiting. So what I'll do is, Rakesh, keep your hand raised. I'll come to you after Tarang. Yeah, all right.
Actually, my question was related to this.
Okay. So
Just
related to what?
Ananya said. It is that is it safe to conclude that if demand increases, price will also increase, and if the competition increases in the market, the price will decrease?
No, nothing can be done in general. That is the entire goal. Everything has to be a case by case study. You can never say anything in general. I'm just trying to draw some parallels here so that you have these in your mind. That is all. So if you look at a very elastic demand, okay, if I answer the question now, I may deprive others of some opportunity. Let me just answer it at that time. Even if you still have doubts, please ask. Okay. But yeah, there can be nothing that is generally said. You cannot have a hard and fast rule about anything. It's very flexible in nature. It's a gray area. Okay.
Okay. Got it, sir. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Yogendra, go ahead.
Sir, can we say that with the qualitative data, we can decide the direction, and with the quantitative data, we can decide the direction and the quantity of the direction also. Slope.
Magnitude, quantity and direction and magnitude. All right. That is very true. With quantitative data, you can determine direction and magnitude. 100% right. With qualitative data, it's subjective. So it's how you interpret it, how I interpret it. I can interpret the news in a negative sense as well. I'm not getting any examples off the top of my head, but yeah, it could be possible that what your interpretation is and what my interpretation is are completely different.
But at least only we can conclude about the direction only.
No, I'm telling even in the direction it may not be true.
Okay.
Right. So even in the direction looking at a statement, it may not be true. Someone might be an optimist and might predict positively. Someone might be a pessimist and might predict in the opposite direction. Right. So that is subjective data is always based on subject experts and their interpretation, and it's always done in groups so that majority consensus is arised. For anything, whether direction or magnitude.
So with the qualitative data, can we do the classification models?
Qualitative data, classification models. When you have to put something into classification models, you need to rank it. You have to give it some amount of that statement has to be converted to some numeric, and then you will feed it into the model. Any model that you build has to have some numeric. How do you arrive at that numeric? That is subjective expert. You're getting my point. If you have to put it in a classification model,
With the qualitative data.
Yeah, with qualitative data has to be converted to a quantitative scale, then you can feed it into a model and then you will get it out.
Okay, sir. Means with the qualitative data, we cannot do anything.
You can do only judgment-based methods. I'll give you a few examples. Let's say jury of expert opinion or Delphi methods of forecasting. All these are some customer market survey or Salesforce forecasting. These are very common things that you can
Domain knowledge will be important.
Using domain knowledge, experts will predict something.
Okay,
that is
sir.
all. That is what they will do.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Yes,
Hi,
Tarang,
sir.
sorry to make you waiting. 1 second, Vaibhav. Tarang, yeah.
Yeah, sir. So, sir, you said like we would be drawing inferences from data collected. So my question is like, so this complete project, so this complete subject, and the Capstone project is based on this only. Like we would be drawing inferences from the data collected.
Exactly.
Am I right?
Yes, absolutely right.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Yes, Vaibhav, go ahead.
Hi, sir. Actually, I was solving practice assignment 3. There was some confusion in question number 3.
In practice assignment 3?
Yes, that
we will
quick
take
acid
that,
test ratio.
We will take that during the week's, this thing. At the end of this week, I believe on Sunday we have a session.
All right.
At that time. This is for week 1 and week 2. Yeah? Okay, thank you. Anything else? Harshita, Tarang? Okay, so if you don't have anything else, just lower your hands. Okay, so now let me answer this question. Most of you, what you've said is right. So elasticity and forecasting, when you're looking at these two concepts together, one major important thing that you should keep in mind is that whenever you have that is something very elastic, your forecasting based on a few parameters will have high levels of errors. So you should be very careful. And hence, because of the high fluctuations, just one parameter, let's say price alone, let's say you're looking at price elasticity, and you have got the thing as elastic in nature. When you are forecasting, you can't use only price. There are a lot of other factors that go in. So you have to identify those factors and appropriately build a model. Okay, so that is something that you should keep in mind when you are building forecasting. So that is the parallel between elasticity and forecasting. This number will basically give you a guidance of what is happening. So if something is very inelastic in nature, if you predict using price alone, then you will get a fairly very accurate model. Let's say a straight line model, y is equal to mx plus c, where y is quantity and x is your price, will give you a very accurate model. Whereas if it's very inelastic in very elastic in nature, you cannot fit a straight line model. Okay, so that is just an example. to keep in mind. All right. So with that, since we are already 45 minutes in, I have a few more topics to cover. Let me just at least finish 2 more questions and we'll wrap up. And in the next session, maybe we'll take up cost curves, which I wanted to talk about. So what items are substitutes and complements? Another thing that you can do once you collect your data, let's say you're going to a grocery shop and collecting data, because we had a lot of that during our previous run. People collected data from grocery stores. You can actually look at, are there substitutes between products? Are there complementary products that are existing or not? So that is another important thing that you can look at using the elasticity concepts in your Capstone project. Then you can also look at what are normal goods and inferior goods, and based on if you get income data, but that would be very difficult to get. We generally do not encourage people to present income data because it can be fudged. So we do not encourage that, but using income data, you can look at normal goods and inferior goods and identify. Basically, you can do this as an exercise for your own home. Let's say your own home, you can look at your expenses and your incomes and find out what were necessities, what were luxuries, what were inferior, what were normal goods, right? So that could be a very interesting study for your own self-evaluation of yourself. Got it? So that could be an exercise that you can do with data that is available to you using the concepts that you have learned. Okay.
Sir, I have one question.
Yeah, Gendra, go ahead.
Sir, does it depends on the personality types also? Because some people, even they have tendency to save. So even though there is increase in income, so they don't spend on the luxury goods.
Correct. You can then identify what are necessities now. There's always some inference, right? Data will always give you some inference. If you torture it enough, there's this famous saying, if you torture data enough, it will confess to whatever you want. So, so having that in mind, if you, let's say, if you identify a person is spending on the same set of items over the, let's say, entire year, then you can say that his income is increasing. Let's say month over month, his income is increasing for whatever job he's doing. Very fantastic. Month over month, his income is increasing, but his expenditure is the same. Then you can basically identify, okay, this guy is a very conservative person, not a very luxurious spending kind of guy. So his spending is the same. Right? So that is an inference. And that is what is all about, how to infer from the data.
And inverse is also there. So sometimes the income is not increasing, but my personality is to spend a lot of.
Exactly. You are a partying guy.
So they will borrow from someone and use the credit cards and spend that. But income is not, so means there is another factor. I am just trying to say
that is what
there is another variable.
I totally agree with you. I am just telling you that using this data, you can identify that variable.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Using this data, you can identify that characteristic of that person. This will actually come in your consumption basket. Just look at consumption baskets month over month with an income. See how the spending is looking. From that, you can infer on your this thing, a personality or trait of a person or a family or a group of people, whatever you want to do. Right?
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yes, Ishita, right? Yeah. Go ahead, Ishita.
Hello, sir. Sir, I actually have a query in practice assignment 2, question 22.
Okay.
Sir, I have asked this question on discourse. So basically, curve A, I don't understand how it's a demand curve because it's upward sloping.
Okay. Given the below price elasticity curves, what is the right type of demand? So all of them are demand curves. All of them are demand curves. Okay.
So, sir, I understand that for Veblen and Giffen goods, we have an upward sloping demand curve, but that concept has not been covered yet.
Correct. I'm not talking about any kind of this thing over here. What I'm trying to do is, okay, the practice assignments can be hypothetical in nature. It need not be that all the curves will be sloping down. Okay. So this is just a hypothetical case. Like I said, the practice assignments, in fact, if you go to the discourse, the entire of the previous batch were always asking me these questions. There are a lot of gray areas in your practice assignment, primarily to encourage you to discuss on the forum with your peers and with us. Right, so if you go to the previous batch, in fact, this question has already been answered in the previous batch also. They made the curve a bit more slopy. more than 45 degrees, less than 45 degrees. That was an error that I had to correct it. But anyhow, it was there. But the thing is, the idea is that as the curve becomes more towards the straight line, it is more inelastic in nature and more flatter. As it becomes more flatter, there is no change, right? The change in percentage, I'm getting confused. Numerator should be constant, which means quantity should be constant, which means it should be a perpendicular line. Yeah. So as it becomes perpendicular, it is more change. The quantity is the same. So it's more inelastic in nature, and as it becomes flatter, it's more elastic in nature.
Right, sir. All right.
Correct.
And
So
sir,
that is what it's trying to test. Nothing else. The curve should have been better designed. I agree on that.
sir, also for curve B, does it not better represent elastic demand? Because that curve is flatter.
Okay.
Than
No.
the
That is what I'm trying to
elastic.
say. That is what I'm trying to say. I have put both curves as the same 45-degree line, which is actually not right. Right. So the idea was this. This was an error. I forgot. I missed to correct it. There were two errors that I missed to correct. One was this. The other was the distribution of questions. Some questions in week 1 were actually covered in week 2 topic, so I had to move that. Those were two errors that were missed to correct, and this was one of them.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Madhuri.
Sir, I have a question regarding optimizing condition for equilibrium, for consumers equilibrium.
Okay.
So what it says that we have two goods and each have price Px, Py and marginal utility Mux and Muy. And then optimizing condition is Mux by Px is equals to Muy divided by Py. So I don't understand what does that mean. What is the significance?
Okay. Can you do one thing? Can you just post this question on the Discord because I'm writing it down. I am getting an understanding of it. Okay. Do post this question in the forum. I would like to see this question before I answer.
Malolan, this is Srivatsa here.
Yes, Srivatsa.
One quick point to add regarding this marginal utility by price condition. I think we had an elaborate answer to this in the last run of this course. So I think I would point you out to this question, so to that discussion, so that you would understand it better.
Yeah, I also remember the same thing. There was a huge question on this. I just wanted to verify whether it's the same one.
So you need to first understand what total utility is, then move on to marginal utility, understand the law of diminishing marginal utility, and you then come to this point. So I'll share that, share the link to that.
You are the one who gave that elaborate answer, correct?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was a question. Yeah, got it. Okay, Madhuri. Yeah. So please do look at that discourse. It would have been given there as well. And maybe Srivatsa can also point it out to you guys. And by the way, Srivatsa is a co-instructor for this course. So thank you, Srivatsa, for joining. I didn't realize that you had joined.
Yeah, thanks, Malvin. You go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Madhuri. Anything else? Okay. I had one more topic that I wanted to talk about: production curves and cost curves. Okay. Do you guys want me to finish it? It might take another 20 minutes, or do you guys have another meeting after this? I do not know. You have another calendar event?
There's no other event, sir.
No, please finish it, sir.
I'll finish off. All right. Okay. So now moving on to another topic. In production costs, basically, or cost curves. There is a very important thing that you should understand. In this segment of the week, we are actually talking about two concepts. Okay, the first category of discussion is on a concept where the price of the product is not given, and how do you determine what to produce. The second part of the discussion is on when price is given, basically a competitive market where the price is fixed. How do you determine the quantity? So these are two different scenarios. So please understand that. Please revisit the videos if you have not got this. Because in case one, let's say when price is not given, I have a list of questions, but again, I'll try to complete it as fast as possible, and we'll revise it maybe again next week. When you are looking at a scenario of a production facility, whether you want to expand or not expand, or whether you want to set up whatever it may be, and the price of the product is not known for some reason, price of product is not given to you, then you will identify your production wherever the average total cost is minimum. This is because your fixed cost plus variable cost will give you your total cost, and the total cost divided by quantity will give you your average cost. You want to identify a production point where the total cost will keep, where the average total cost is the minimum, right? And after this point, it will start increasing. So without having price in your equation, if you have to determine your production quantity, you should always use your average total cost. And this point where the average total cost is minimum will also be the point where you have marginal cost intersecting the average total cost line. Okay, so that is very important to note. Any questions on this? This is a very important concept. Without price, yeah. Rakesh, go ahead.
Can you please repeat, sir?
Okay. Okay, I'll repeat for Madhu. Rakesh?
And sir, can you explain a bit the fixed cost and variable cost? It is, the idea is not clear to me.
Okay.
I mean, like
So,
an example.
Okay, sure. So let me take the example that was given in the video. Okay. Yeah. Srivinay.
Srivinay.
Srivinay. Okay.
Can I
Vinay.
paraphrase what you said then?
Can I?
Can I paraphrase what you said? Someone
I'm
asked
good.
you to paraphrase.
Yeah. Madhuri was asking. Go ahead. No problem.
Yeah.
And then I'll again answer.
So, in the line of production, what do we want to do? We want to use, we want to produce the most, but with the least average cost, right? We want the cost for each product to be the least. So what we're looking at is, we don't have a price set in the market. So what we're going to do is we are going to look at our average cost, right? And see where our average cost is the least, right? And at that point, if you produce those many products, or that much quantity of products, then at that point your marginal cost is equal to your average cost, because they intersect at that point. And that point is like, if you had produced more, then you are spending more, but you're not getting the same, your average cost is increased, right? Because you're trying to produce more, but the cost for each product is becoming more. What we want to do is minimize that cost for each product, and at that point we will actually reach a price in the market. Like, we will have an established price because we have a established quantity.
Yeah, correct. So you have understood it correctly, but I did not know whether you have communicated that to Madhuri's, let's say Madhuri's satisfaction. But anyhow, let me just answer all the questions. I'll start with Rakesh and then I'll come to Madhuri, all right? So that will give a summary of it. So fixed cost is something that you will incur irrespective of what quantity you produce. So let's say you are going to make lemonade. You are renting a room for making lemonade. The rent for the room is $100 per month. Then that is your fixed cost. Whether you make 1 lemonade, 10 lemonades, 100 lemonades, it's going to be that 100 rupees. Okay. After that, to make the lemonade, you are employing a person. So for every person you employ, he can make 10 lemonades and he will charge you 10 rupees. So that is the variable cost, right? So in fact, let me put it like this. Yeah, he'll make 10 lemonades and he'll charge. So you are going to pay 10 rupees per worker. For the next worker, you will pay 20 rupees. For the third worker, you will pay for 30 rupees. 3 workers, 30 rupees. 4 workers, 40 rupees. Correct? So that is the variable cost. It's going to increase as the number of workers keeps increasing. And since the number of workers increase, quantity will also increase. It can increase proportionately or disproportionately, that's a different question, but it will increase. So 10 will become 20, will become 30. Number of employees will become 1, 2, 3. Variable cost will become 10, 20, 30. It was 0, 10, 20, 30. No workers, 0, 1 worker 10, 2 workers 20, 3 workers 30. Okay, so this is fixed and variable cost. Vivek, can I finish or do you want to add something else to this?
Yeah,
Sir,
and
I want to ask
you can finish, sir. I'll ask afterwards because I have a
fantastic.
contradiction.
All right, fine. Wonderful. We'll have a contradiction towards the end. Okay, so that is fixed cost and that is variable cost. The sum of these two, for simple is this, let's assume there's no other cost. The sum of these two will give you your total cost. That total cost divided by quantity will give you an average total cost. Now, what will happen as quantity increases, your variable cost will increase, and hence your total cost will increase. But your average cost will initially drop, then it will start to increase. Okay, this is because there will be variations in quantity, whatnot. Let's not get into that discussion. That will be covered in the video. So this will decrease and then start increasing. So if I want to set up a production, I will set it up to the point where my average total cost is the minimum. After this point, my cost is going to increase for every unit that I produce. So that is the first half of the discussion. Without price in the picture, only with my cost, if I have to make a production decision, what will I do? I will choose the point where my average total cost is minimum. And it also happens that at that point, the marginal cost will intersect. That is just a statement I'm making. Please refer to the video. You will get it very clearly over there. Okay. So did that answer your question, Madhuri?
Yes, completely.
Fantastic. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Rakesh, 1 second. Rakesh, did I answer your question?
Yes, sir, I got it. And one small thing I want to ask that the electricity consumption, that is the variable cost, no?
Yeah, electricity consumption is a variable cost. Based on your quantity, you
okay.
might change. Based on your quantity, it might change. Anything that changes with respect to quantity or labor or something of that sort, that's variable. Okay.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Okay. That someone who was asking me a question, please raise your hand. Let me first talk to Vivek, then come to you. Yeah, Vivek, go ahead.
Yeah, so my question was, we are assuming that the variable cost will reduce, increase over time because of the increase in the labor or something. Now, and the fixed cost, of course, will reduce over time, and then we'll get those.
We are not talking over time. We are talking with number of people.
Number of people.
Produced,
okay, yeah, with the number of
sort.
number as the production increases, right? So my question is, can there be because this is an assumption we are saying that the variable cost will increase. Can we say due to some technological change that the variable cost starts decreasing, and then you'll have the curves, even the marginal cost starts going down.
Everything will change now.
Everything will change. So
everything will change.
So this is primarily based on the assumption of the increase in the variable cost as the production increases. So that's what
I'm trying to say. That is what I'm trying to say. Very, very true. It will, everything will change. But there's one more thing here. Even if there's a technology that is coming into picture, there will always be a limit for that technology. Let's say originally a man was manning the lathe and he was making drills. Then the drilling machine came into picture.
Got it. Yeah. Yes.
The quantity produced significantly increases. But you need a second, let's say you want to put a second machine.
Right.
Got it. Right? So that is how it works.
Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Okay. Sunita?
Sir, I have a doubt. Apart from the fixed and variable costs, there were multiple costs that were covered during the lecture. And then there are questions associated with that, couple of them in the practice assignment also. I made a lot of mistakes in identifying which were these. I have confusion about the various costs. If which is the explicit one, which is the implicit one. If you can provide some examples on these, it would be very good.
Wonderful. To be very honest with you, I'm also not a very good expert on the other costs. It might be better if a CA person, if there are any CAs in this thing, if you can do a session, it will be very helpful. But what I will do is I'll try to prepare this and come for the next week's discussion. Maybe I'll give you a few examples at that time. All right?
Okay, thanks a lot, sir. That would be of great help because it's quite confusing. All of them kind of overlap across each other.
They will. Yeah. Because what one person thinks of something, another person will think of it in a different sense. That was the initial part of the discussion. That sir was talking about accounting and economics, right? Economics might think about something, and that was the purpose of that question, to deliberately spark discussion. If you go to the discourse forum, there will be a huge discussion around this, and one particular person, we had someone called Shreya, who was actually very active because she was a CA and she was actually helping us out in answering a lot of questions. So that would be a good starting point. Just go there to the discourse forum, search for this particular question number, you'll get the complete discussion. I will try to prepare a few examples for you in the next class. All right, but there will be overlaps.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yes, Sabit, Sundar.
Sir, I just want to confirm if for one labor average is 5, for two labor average is 4, for three labor average is 3, and for four
I have to note it down.
no sir, it's just for
Okay.
one labor is 5, average is coming to 5, for two it's coming 4, for three it is coming 3. That means it is in decreasing. For labor 4 it starts increasing. Now it is 4, for 5 labor it is 5. So the my production will be for 4 labor or for 3 labor.
3 is the minimum, right?
So 3 is the minimum, but as per the my understanding, where the curve starts increasing, we will stop at that point.
Wonderful. Around that region, it will be the constant. It will be somewhat very close to each other. So this point and the next point will not be very significantly different. This actually comes in a topic called economics of scale, EOQ models, economics of scale, right? EOS, the economic order quantity in inventory theory, so on and so forth. At that point, around it will be the same. So 2, 3 or 4, but 3 is the best.
So if it is a question,
in fact, let me once again, let me correct you. The point where it starts increasing is 3. Beyond 3, it starts increasing. No? So 3 is the minimum point. From 3, it goes to 4. So 3 is the starting point of increase.
no, the increasing when you increase the labor, not in 3. When you increase another labor, that's when the labor is 4.
Correct. So the increasing point was 3, no? From 0, if you go to 1, which is the starting point of increase? Is it 0 or is it 1?
So that's the confusion. That's why.
It is 0. 0 is the point where it starts increasing. So 3 labors cost, average cost of 3 is the point where it starts increasing. So if it is correct, so you will stop at 3 labors at the cost of 3. Beyond 3, it goes to 4, 5, 6. So 3 is the starting point of increasing average total cost.
Okay. So the answer
4
comes
is not the
with,
starting point.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Right. So since I've talked about this, I'll talk about the next piece also. So the next piece was when you have a competitive market where the price is fixed. So now you know the price of the product that you are selling. You cannot vary the price. You know the price. This is the price at which you will sell, but you have to control your cost, or your cost information is going to, that price is going to affect your production. So that is the second half of the lecture. In fact, second half of the week, cost curves. I believe the title of the video is called cost curves. Okay. Once you have this, you will start looking at profit, not just the average total cost. You will look at average total revenue, and then you will look at change in profit. Okay. So once you find these two, you will start identifying your production based on the change in profit. So wherever the change in profit becomes 0, that would be the point at which you will stop. Okay. So that was the second half. So there are 2 different concepts that you should know. And okay. Yeah. So you should stop production where the change in profit becomes 0. And based on the price and the average total cost, average variable cost, and let's say so on and so forth, you will be able to determine what production happens. So that is also an important slide in the video. In view of time, I will stop here. I'm actually, I don't like to overshoot time, but nevertheless, I just wanted to complete. Apologize for the 10 minutes that I've taken extra. Any questions you can feel free to ask, or we can wind up the session. Yes, Vishwajit.
I have a small question regarding the indifference curves.
Okay.
So in the indifference curves in the lecture, we were talking about utility being larger and larger as we move away from the origin. So that means we are assuming that if you can consume more, the consumer will consume. Like if consumer has the ability to consume more, he'll definitely consume.
Correct. At a certain point, you will stop. Correct.
No. So like if at certain point it stops, the farthest curves from the origin would be of lower utility, right?
No, man. Let's say that's what I'm telling now. So if you can consume, you will consume to the maximum. If not, you will come down now. So your utility drops, right? I'm not able to understand your question, in fact.
So I'm asking about cost indifference curves.
Correct, indifferent curves.
So they're curves of constant utility.
Okay.
So there is a statement in the videos which says as we move away from the origin.
Okay, can you just do one thing? Just post this question in the discourse.
It's already posted, and
right.
I think everybody is disagreeing with me already.
All right, fair enough. No, fair enough. Just tag me because I want to understand the question a bit more before I give you an answer, because I'm not able to grasp what you're exactly saying. So I would like to look at the question. So just tag me over that. You can tag me at Milo. So Milo is my handle. So you can tag me, and I will have a look at this question. Yeah.
I just wanted to just ask, this utility is based on the satisfaction, not the consumption, right?
Yeah, it's based on satisfaction. Utils.
Yeah. Utils, yeah. So it's not if I'm consuming more, and at a certain point, my marginal utility of consumption goes down as I consume more and more. It's my level of satisfaction. So if I always try and increase my satisfaction.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you're satisfied, you have to get tummy full, you can stop there. If someone is satisfied, if he eats till his throat, that is his point. So yeah, it's very true.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. Harshita?
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, my question is on the fixed prices, fixed cost.
Fixed cost or fixed prices?
Sir, fixed cost. Sorry.
Okay.
Sir, actually, in the example, in the video lectures, there is fixed cost which is not changing, like the cost of factory. And in the second example of lemonade shop, the fixed cost is decreasing. So
no, just check. It would have been average fixed cost.
Average fixed cost is decreasing, right? Sir?
Yeah, average fixed cost will decrease. Fixed cost will be same. Average fixed cost will decrease because quantity increases now. Fixed cost could be 3. Average fixed cost would be 3 by 1, 3 by 2, 3 by 3, which means it's decreasing, right?
Average fixed cost is calculated
fixed cost by number of quantities produced.
Okay, sir, but still I'm not getting that how it is decreasing.
No, that is what I'm trying to say. You are renting a room for 100 rupees, okay, per month, and you are not producing anything in that room. You are not producing any lemonades. So what is it? Your average fixed cost is going to be 100 because by 0 it's not possible. So your average fixed cost is 100. Let's say you're producing 10 lemonades. So that 100 gets now divided by 10 lemonades. So per lemonade, it's 10 rupees. The average fixed cost per lemonade is 10 rupees. Let's say you're producing 20. 100 divided by 20. So average fixed cost per lemonade is now 5. Then let's say it's 50. Average fixed cost per lemonade is 100 by 50, which is 2. Yeah, 2. Sorry. I made
yes, sir. I got that now.
Now
Yes,
it is decreasing. So average fixed cost will always decrease. Average variable cost will average variable cost. It depends how it moves, but yeah.
Okay. Right? Sir, in this case, the average variable cost will be the price of lemons and
not that. Let's say I'm putting a person to produce. We are not talking. It could be anything. Price of lemons could be variable, or it could be the person who's putting variable. It could be the electricity that you use is variable. So based on the question, the variable cost components of variable cost will vary. But the variable cost is always that. It will always vary based on quantity.
Okay, sir. Sir, I just want to add on that there is always a fixed price of the lemons. Like they will don't go below that, and it can go up, but they can go below that. So the shopkeeper would have to take that in the fixed cost.
Not necessary. What was there was some trouble. Let's take the example of onions because that is the best example everyone can understand. Last year, I believe, year before Corona, there was a huge spike in onion prices, 100 rupees per kg or something. So it is always the case. You can never argue about whether this is fixed or variable. When it comes to items, even rent cannot be considered to be fixed. Very honest with you. Over a long run, let's say over a year it will be fixed, but year over year it changes. So all of that is there, but yeah, the concept of variable cost is it will vary with quantity. Concept of fixed cost is it will be independent of quantity. That is all.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, Parth.
Yeah, sir, this question might not make sense, but like let's say I am producing something and up to a certain point I'm gaining profit, and then suddenly my profit turns zero. So I stop the production. But if I just took a little more risk and pushed a little more, maybe my profit started increasing even more. So is it something like this is possible? Like,
Okay. First, let me answer something. There's no question that makes sense or does not make sense. Every question is always a way to learn. So please feel free to ask as many questions as you want. So that is one thing. Number two. So you are telling me that you are making profit, then it became zero, then it starts to increase. All right. So these scenarios are very subjective in nature. So you'll have to actually look at the business, what they are doing to give answers to these kind of questions. But in general, let's say there was some market scenario that has led to your price being lower than your total cost, average total cost, but it's still higher than your average variable cost. Then what you can actually do is you can produce in the short run. Over a short period of time, you can produce, then shut down, and then restart. This was actually discussed in the video. But let's say your price of the product has become so low that is lower than your variable cost. You are not able to get back what you have put. Then you can actually say, I will exit the market. That is the general business phenomenon that was discussed. So I'll stick to that and answer. I'll not go much more deeper into this. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, no problem. So if there are no more questions, please lower your hands. And we will wrap up the session. Okay. All right. Thank you to all the participants. It was nice to interact with you for the first time. Stay safe, happy learnings, and keep posting your doubts in the discourse. But before you post, please make sure that you check the discourse, because this is the second run. We have a knowledge repository. You would get most of the answers there. So with that, thank you. You can all log off.
Thank you, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Sir, this is regarding the cap.
Regarding? I didn't hear you.
Project. Hello? A Capstone project, sir.
Okay.
Capstone project.
Okay, go ahead, Ambuja. Yeah.
Think of getting data from legal service project
Okay.
in the field of service industry.
Okay. For the Capstone project, please post your question in the discourse and tag at Ashwin and at Hari. In fact, it's at Hari. All right. So they will get back to you, because they are the ones who are handling that piece of the thing. So they might give you a better clarity on that. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yeah. See. Bye. Potim, what should we do? Can we end the call? What team? Should I just leave the thing or should I end it? Okay, I have just leave. Okay. All right. Everyone. See you in the next session. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening. Stay safe. Bye bye.